Oh, you want to go and have an all-American breakfast and it's only $12 a person. With the power of our own home, we can make an all-American breakfast for this price per person right here. That is but cheaper. Okay, so if you're not from America, you may not know this, but an all-American breakfast consists of very basic items: eggs, bacon, toast, or pancakes for extra. Remember, pancakes are always extra, unless you're at home and you're on But Cheaper, in which case they're cheaper. Yes. And normally hash browns are some sort of potato. So we're gonna make that, but we're gonna make it with proper technique, a little bit of fanciness, and significantly less expensive. So with all that said, let's make this, shall we? Let's start things off right with the perfect, most quippy roast potato. Look, we're going this route instead of the hash browns, not sorry about it. Start off with 2 pounds of nice smooth boy Yukon Gold potatoes, peel them all nicely, then cut them in half or quarters, depending on how big they are. I find that quartering them is usually the best size, because size matters. Anyway, place this in a pot, add in enough water to cover the potatoes, season it generously with salt, and place in the stove over medium-high heat. Let it boil and cook for 8 to 10 minutes, or just until the potatoes are soft but not mush. No mushy, or your potatoes will be so sad Papa no like. Ever. Drain your potatoes and let them sit and cool long enough until the outside of the potato is nice and dry. It's totally fine if they're still hot. Now snag yourself a baking dish. Generously coat the bottom with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Add in your potatoes, then rough them up with the bottom of a cup. You gotta teach those potatoes that they've been
bad little boys. Ooh, spank spank.
Now cover your potatoes with an additional 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Toss to coat thoroughly and try to keep them in one layer. Then season them generously with salt and optionally a little bit of pepper to taste. Then toss those in an oven set to 425 Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes, taking them out once or twice to toss and turn them until deep golden brown, like these fellers right here. I mean, look at that. I want to put that in my mouth. Now next up we have the famous choice for any all-American breakfast, the pancake. Also one of the most overpriced breakfast items in the game. In a medium-sized bowl, add 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, followed by 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Give that some drumroll please. Whiskey business. Then in a separate container, you'll need 1 1/4 cup of whole milk, whisk in 1 egg, probably would have been better to do the egg before the milk, but whatever. Then whisk in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. From there, whisk your wet ingredients into your dry and continue mixing until you have a nice and even batter. It's okay if it's a little bit lumpy, but definitely do not over mix this. Then from there, it's a typical pancake procedure, which I feel like most people know, but we'll go through it anyway. Heat a griddle or non-stick pan a little over medium heat until nice and hot potat. Spray it or grease with a touch of vegetable oil. Pour in heaping 1/4 cup scoops of batter. I would say 3 to 4 at a time, don't go above that. Then let that cook for about 2 minutes or until it's halfway cooked and the bottom is a nice golden brown. Carefully flip and repeat on the other side. Then just repeat this process with all of your cakes of the pan variety. Now while you're cooking your pancakes, you probably want to start cooking your bacon, right? Well, yes, of course, we all love bacon, but if you're trying not to blow the bank, I have an alternative. First, you'll need about 1 pound of ground pork. Obviously, for the full flex, I ground mine fresh, but I guess you don't have to do that. Now since I did grind mine, I added the spices before it was ground, but obviously you can do it after. Said spices consist of 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of ground sage, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and a half teaspoon of allspice. Mix it all together, grind your pork if it's not already ground, and once thoroughly mixed, that right there is a lovely pork breakfast sausage. From there, just form your pork into 2.5 inch wide discs that are about 1/2 inch thick. If you get your parameters correct, you'll end up with 12 pretty evenly sized patties. To cook them, simply heat up a very lightly oiled pan over medium-high, then place 4 patties in the pan at a time and sear for 2 to 3 minutes or until you get a nice deep brown crust. Flip and repeat on the other side till you have browning on both sides and the inside is cooked through. Repeat with as little or as many breakfast sausage patties as you want. And let me tell you something, these are mad addicting. Now we have all of our components except one thing, the eggs. I prefer to fry mine, but you can do whatever you want. My ideal method is just heating up a non-stick pan over medium heat, adding just enough vegetable oil to coat the bottom. Add your eggs about 2 or 3 at a time, trying to avoid them, connecting while they're cooking, because that's very annoying. Then once they cook enough of the white to hold being slid around the pan, simply spoon the hot oil over the egg whites until they are fully cooked through like this. You'll get crispy, lacy edges, puffy whites, and a nice runny yolk. I prefer to season my eggs with salt after cooking to avoid those weird white speckles on the yolks. From there, assemble your all-American breakfast in the orientation presentation you'd like. In my case, plate, then eggs, then your pancakes arranged nicely. Maybe a little butter pat for the cartoonish nostalgia, followed by some shingled sausage patties, or bacon if you want to be rich, I guess. And finally, your beautiful roasty toasty tiders. Oh, and of course, fully optional, but a nice little line of finely sliced chives over your eggs. It's pretty good looking. Now that is a beautiful all-American breakfast for this price per serving right here. A good deal for twice the flavor. All-American breakfast, and for a grand total of I don't know what that noise was, but that's the price. Wow, grand total per serving for 4 of these? First thing, pescados. This is the one and only way you should ever roast a potato. For the record, they're just like airy and crispy and yummy. Obviously pancakes. Get some syrup. They're fluffy, nice, almost
Juicy.
because people don't want me to say moist, but they're moist. And I mean the eggs, perfect. If you really want to get fancy, you can put some flaky salt on them, although that's not Butt Cheaper approved. No, no, no. I have a big problem with eggs that aren't crispy. I know some people don't like them. Why would you not want crispy little edges? And the runny yolk, that's a runny yolk. And last but not least is our fresh ground breakfast pork sausage. This feels like a proper all-American breakfast. You spend like $12 to $14 per person when you can have all of this for such a low price. And in my opinion, it's significantly better. Not just in quality and flavor, but you made it. You can be proud of it. That's Butt Cheaper. Ding, 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 ding. All right, just shh. You wanna know what else is full of thick cakes and American-style breakfast? B-roll. Alright guys, and that is it. So we made our All-American, our Grand Slam, whatever you want to call it, Butt Cheaper for this price per serving right here. I think a lot of people like to be like, oh Josh, what about I have to buy this or that? Look, the reason why we break it down into servings is because if you only use 6 or 8 eggs, guess what? There's still eggs in the fridge to use later. So why would we count that towards the total price if we're not using them? Whereas if you go to a restaurant and you buy it for this price, that's all you get and that's finished. That dollar is not getting stretched anymore. You basically swallowed that dollar and pooped it out. That's a poopy dollar. Okay, we're doing it for you. I'm not doing this math for no reason, or more specifically, I'm not making TJ do this math for no reason. So with all that said, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Yeah!